Hello there guys, welcome back to Younes Talks Football, welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all of you are doing well today. We've got news and a discussion topic. It needs to be spoken about here. We need to get, I wouldn't say to the bottom of this, but we need to talk. We need to talk because there are two sides to a story here. There are two sides to a coin. And it's about really trying to see what both sides are saying. How is it going to benefit Chelsea Football Club going forward? And how can Chelsea move forward with the tools that it currently has in place? Or does it need to change anything? We'll get to that very shortly. Let's start off very, very quickly. I want to let you know, because if you don't know already by now, if you've been in the cave, I am back on Twitter. Links in the description. Instagram is there as well, so follow me on those for all of my latest and all of my little perks that I have for you guys to give you on a daily basis when I'm not on YouTube or I'm away or I'm just giving you a little tweet here and there and you want to find out updates. It's all there, so make sure you follow me. Links are in the description. Let's get cracking with the good news. Let's start off with the good news, right? Because afterwards we're going to get into a bit of a discussion. Starting off with the latest on Chelsea need a midfielder, Mr. Enzo Fernandez. What is happening? Well, it looks like the one person that I would say started all of this when it comes to Enzo Fernandez and the news and the latest and the updates, it seems to be quite reliably coming from Felix Johnston. Now, Felix Johnston comes in with news very, very recently, in minutes ago at the time of this recording, with this. Check this out. Exclusive. Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea is done. Structure of the deal has now been agreed and signed. As verbally agreed days ago, 120 million euros plus 10 million euros, 120 million euros in 3 installments, 10 million euros performance related. Medical departments in communication, medical day to be agreed. Also goes on to say performance related add-ons include winning the Premier League and the Champions League. Expected to be announced, whether that's agreement announcement or full-on official, within 72 hours. Let's keep ourselves posted for that. What I do have to say is apparently Enzo Fernandez missed 2 training sessions, which means he's already broken the disciplinary rules at Benfica. So I don't know if they're actually going to do something about it, knowing that he's probably going out of the door. But anyway, it seems like it's done. Enzo Fernandez on the way to Chelsea. We already know that he has a verbal agreement in place and personal terms agreed with Chelsea Football Club already. What are those personal terms? We don't know. But let's keep our eyes on this one. I love the performance-related add-on, by the way. Just if Chelsea win the Premier League and the Champions League, we got to pay out 10 million. I mean, don't expect that anytime soon. Let me just say that. For Chelsea to put that in, it's probably a wise thing, knowing that we're not going to win the Premier League. We're probably not going to win the Champions League. Let's be real. We're probably not going to come even close. But you never know. Anyway, it's a fair clause to have in the contract, I feel, considering that Benfica didn't actually hold on to Enzo for very long, but they've got one hell of a payment coming towards them, having not spent even close to as much as 120 million in order to get him in the first place, just very recently. So Benfica happy, Chelsea happy, Enzo Fernandez looking like he's on the way to Chelsea. Now, I've got two. I'm going to be completely honest and frank with you guys, right? Throughout the remainder of this season, you're not going to hear anything in terms, and you normally don't, in terms of me trying to steer things in a certain way, or I'm going to tell you what I hope is going to happen. I'm just going to be real. Enzo Fernandez, is he a good midfielder? Absolutely. If he comes into Chelsea, would he go down as Chelsea's best midfielder in terms of who is available right now? I would say yes, absolutely. 21 years old. Is he one for the future? Absolutely. Has he proven what he can do already? We saw what he done at the World Cup. We saw what he was like at Benfica, even though it's been short. But for the World Cup, Argentina, he was absolutely outstanding. At his young age, he's already won a World Cup, and he was a key player in that World Cup win. So yes, absolutely. But I can't help but think, even a player like Enzo Fernandez, no matter who you bring in, they're going to come into Chelsea and they're going to stagnate. I just feel like that is a big possibility. Now, we won't know for sure up until when we actually see everything in the flesh. But I want to be clear and honest with you. We've seen tons of players, and this is an issue that I spoke about at the World Cup. When we were talking about the World Cup on this channel, I was telling you guys, when it comes to the season coming back, we have to talk about this, because players that move on from Chelsea, or they go to their national teams, whatever, When they're not playing at Chelsea, they thrive. They look good. They look better, at least. They come to Chelsea and everything stops. Why? Enzo Fernandez could be a player that comes in and makes a difference, absolutely, and I'm hoping that's going to be the case, and we should absolutely include him in the core of the team in order to try and build something around him. And I think he would definitely threaten the place of some of the so-called top midfielders that we have in this club, in this team already. But even an Enzo, at his age, no matter what the fee is, you have to look at the player. He could easily come in and stagnate, much like we've seen someone like Kai Havertz stagnate. Much like we've seen other midfielders just hit a level and stop. Even at their age where they should be getting better and better. They don't. It's a possibility. I'd like to think, as I've said, that this for the team is a good move. It's, as I've said, Enzo to come in would end up, I think, becoming our best midfielder. You could say bar N'Golo Kante at his best, of course. But it's a deal that's worth doing. But is it going to be the key? Is it going to solve all of our issues? No. No, it will help. I feel like it will help. It will be one piece to the big puzzle that we have sorted out. But there are other pieces that we need to try and find. And we need to try and slot in order to complete the puzzle. Because right now, this puzzle at Chelsea Football Club is so huge. And there's so many missing pieces. It's ridiculous. It's almost looking impossible to fix. At least in the short term. But let's get to the second point of this video, which is to discuss, the players at Chelsea Football Club and Graham Potter. The form that we're in right now is stupid in a bad way, right? And there's been so many fingers being pointed at all sorts of things in the last 24 hours since the game against Nottingham Forest. We've all seen people that are going to protect Graham Potter for everything. They're going to blame all the players. There's some people that are a bit on the fence. They don't know which way to go. There's some people that are blaming both openly. There's some people that are blaming only Potter. There's some people that are shape-shifting, flip-flopping, going from one to the next. There's so many variations, and this is why I've always said, look, it's not always black and white. There's always a lot of grey, right? And there's always different variations of grey. And that's just the reality of life. That's just how life is. But my opinion, and I can only speak for myself, when I look at this, I am blaming both. And not just that, there is a third issue. There are pre-existing issues at this football club that has dated back to previous managers, right? But in terms of what we have now and what we are capable of and how we are executing what we need to be doing, how we are executing and what results we're getting, there's something that needs to be pointed at the players and there's something that needs to be pointed at the manager. And you could argue one point, just one, in relation to the ownership, and I'll get to that. When it comes to the players, there's a lot of these players that, for me, are soft. That's the key issue here. They're soft. They can almost decide to play well when they want to, and then they can just sit back and do nothing when they want to. And the problem is, it doesn't seem like there's much correction. And whenever there is someone that's going to come in and give a correction, it tends to not go well because there are certain experienced players in this team that are not movable. They're not budging. And this is where I feel a problem is. But what's the way to solve it? This is where I feel like looking at Arsenal is a good thing, because Arteta, despite his criticisms, managed to just get rid of every single problem that was in his team. Now, I don't like to compare with Arteta and Arsenal a lot because two reasons. Arteta, despite what he was criticised for, by myself and many others, right? I always looked at Arteta and thought, nah, you're not good enough to really take Arsenal to the top, right? You'll take them to a certain level, but not to where Arsenal should be. He did still win an FA Cup. They beat us in that. Won a trophy. Under Pep Guardiola, did definitely pick up some sort of knowledge. Let's be honest. It'd be stupid if he didn't pick up some sort of knowledge. But it looks like he actually has. Now he's sitting top of the table because he's managed to get rid of all of those little problems. And the recruitment at Arsenal has actually been good, where many people thought the recruitment at Arsenal, because of history, was just terrible and it wasn't going anywhere. And now it seems like they found a combination that has worked. But when you look at Chelsea, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I don't feel like we can even compare a Potter with an Arteta. And this is where the players, we look at the players and what Potter has available, much like some of the other managers that we've had has had available. And yes, the mentality is poor. But in order to change the mentality, it's going to come from one place and one place only. And that's the top. It's going to come from the manager. It's going to come from the owners. But on the pitch and on a day-to-day basis, it's going to come from the manager. He's the only one with the keys to try and get through to players. Much like Emma Hayes has done with the women's team. We've all seen the clip at the women's team where she's told the team, look, this is Chelsea Football Club. You are going to get to a certain standard. We are going to give you all the tools and we're going to give you everything that you need, but you need to be the one to use them, not me. And simple. If you're not going to show it, we're going to move you on and we're going to get someone else in. Done. That's it. You can see, even with the women's team, you can see Emma Hayes on the touchline. You can see the dynamic. You can see the way that that's getting through to everybody. At Chelsea, we have a problem where it's not getting through to these players. They don't get it, or they choose to not get it. But at the moment, it seems like they choose to not get it. And that's where I point to the players, because you have to be professional and responsible. However, I still feel like the manager has the key to try and get the players moving in a certain way. Look at Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. He's had just a bit longer, and yes, he's had a summer window. But you can see the progression. Even by filtering out a Cristiano Ronaldo, you can see how they are week by week, result by result, getting better. And they might drop off one week and then they pick themselves up again. And then they're moving. And then, yes, they might dip again. But that's normal. I don't expect Chelsea to win week in, week out. But there has to be an upward trajectory. At Chelsea, it's a downward trajectory. Completely. It's downwards. We're going down. Yeah? Then there's the Bournemouth result, for example, and then we continue to go down. That's not good enough. But from Graham Potter, there's nothing coming from the touchline. There's nothing in terms of trying to get a solution going in this team. And when you look at the one common denominator that Arsenal have managed to implement, that Man United have managed to implement, is if the so-called experienced players, or the players that are the olders in the group, it's not really getting through, or they choose not to listen, they get filtered out. At Chelsea, in a game like yesterday, we choose to not use some of the young players on the bench that might come on and make a difference, that might actually listen to you. If you feel like you're not being listened to, get to the players that are listening to you and try and build a core. People screaming for Lewis Hall to play because he's shown what he can do. People screaming for a Hutchinson because we know his ability, not being used. Chukwuemeka comes on for 5 minutes in a position that's not even his position. Nothing seems to be shifted. Nothing seems to be changed. Nothing seems to be done about the issues that we're seeing in this team at the moment. And that points to Graham Potter. One thing that I said at the beginning of all of this is I hope this job is not too big for Potter. I am completely on board with what many people are saying in terms of a process, in terms of trying to shift the way and the methods that we've had at Chelsea Football Club for quite a few years, where it's been all about, let's be honest, football and sport is about winning, right? We want to win. That's the ultimate goal. If you're not winning, then you've got to strive to win. I understand that now we're moving towards a way or a method of we're trying to sustain ourselves. We're trying to build something long-term. We're trying to get a core group and get young lads that are going to propel us for the next decade or so. Much like, to be honest, even though we were short-term, but we had a long-term team that was carrying us on a short-term basis, season by season, if you remember. When you talk about that spine of Cech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba, and everyone around, that spine lasted just over 10 years. So it was a team that took us long-term, but it was being looked at on a short-term basis. And the truth of the matter is, right now, in modern-day football, the results are going to speak for themselves. You can all talk about a process, but if you're not getting the results, there's going to be consequences. And if it gets to a certain line and it drops below a red line, you're getting sacked. Simple as that. Why? Because there's money on the table. It's as simple as that. People have a fantasy to think that everything's just going to get accepted no matter what happens. Even if we're lingering near relegation, don't worry, we've got next season to think about. That's not how life works, right? You can fail, but you need to show progress. You're allowed to fail, you're allowed to make mistakes, but you need to show progress. If you're not doing that and you're just accepting the failure and you're just going, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. And you don't actually show what you're trying to do about it, it's not going to be okay. And you're going to fall even further backwards. And you're going to be blind to the damage that you're actually causing. Or you're going to be ignorant to it or oblivious to it, or you just accept it and just think it's okay. That's not okay. Especially at a club like Chelsea Football Club. Yesterday, that statistic against Nottingham Forest of 0 shots, 0 on target, and there was another flipping stat that had 0. It was 3 stats with 0 in it. The whole second half, it's inexplicable. It's inexplicable for any Premier League team to have a stat like that in a game against Nottingham Forest, who were sitting 19th. It's inexplicable. Any Premier League team, no way should you not even have a shot. It's ridiculous. This is Chelsea we're talking about. It shows you there is something fundamentally wrong with the system, with the way we're using these players, and with the way that we're letting the players do what they feel like is okay. It's not okay. We can all talk about a process, as I've said, right? We can all talk about trying to build further. And I agree. In order to try and create that core, look long-term, change the way we've been doing things, right? So don't look short-term and just let's win. And then, we sack a manager, we get someone in, get him a couple of players, let's try again, sack him, get another. That's not going to work long-term, 100%, right? But in order for you to carry that process out, you need to have the right man in place. For me, Potter is not the right man. That is the problem. I'm all for the way that everyone is saying how we should do things. I completely agree. It's the way forward. But you need the right individual to lead you in order to carry out that vision and stick with him. Potter is not that guy. Tuchel was more in place to be that guy than Graham Potter. Let's be honest. Now we know there was issues not in terms of the players and Tuchel and the results, and even though it was a problem, but it was the way that Todd Bowley and Tuchel didn't get on in terms of that long-term vision. They saw things differently, and it wasn't going to work. And that's the truth of the matter. If you see things differently, no matter what relationship you're in, whether it's professional, personal, whatever, sport, business, whatever, if you don't see eye to eye, it's not going to work, right? So you cut it off. And it's probably a good decision from Todd Bowley's perspective to cut it off and try and get someone in. But is Graham Potter that guy? I don't feel like he's that guy. And I said that when he got appointed. Is he going to be good enough for this job? And is this job too big for him? Some of the quotes that we've seen, some of the press conferences we've seen, the way that he's taken it on board, it doesn't fill me with confidence, doesn't fill you with confidence. This was yesterday. Check this out. It's a hard-earned point against a team that set up well. Credit to them. They used the atmosphere and put us under a lot of pressure. It shouldn't be said. This should not be said. Yes, credit to Nottingham Forest as an opponent in a game that got a result. Credit. That's it. To use their atmosphere as an excuse, or to try and say, they put us under a lot of pressure. It means you didn't have an answer to it. You acknowledge it, you didn't have an answer to it. You didn't have a solution to it. When realistically we should. Let's be honest. This team is not as catastrophic, and these players are not as bad as people are portraying. There are issues, yes. Many of these players should be shifted, yes. Are some of these players not as good as people think they are? Yes. But come on. They are still, I'd say, at a level where they should be able to get something against a Nottingham Forest, albeit, right? Or at least play better. And if sometimes the result just doesn't come in, it just doesn't come in. If the ball doesn't want to go in, it doesn't want to go in. Those sort of games happen. But yesterday wasn't that. We got played off the park. And we were causing the damage for ourselves. This is what I'm saying, and nothing's being done about it. Since September, since Potter's come in, there's been nothing in terms of progress or change. Nothing. In fact, it's going down. That's not normal. You still can't identify exactly what we're trying to do. Things are changing too often. It just shows you that Graham Potter, for me, in my head, it just seems like he doesn't know what way to go in either. And that's not good enough. For Chelsea Football Club, it's not good enough. Graham Potter, people talking about recruitment, getting the players that he wants and all of that. There are some managers and there are some people in professional football that are very good at spotting talent and spotting players and scouting for the ones that the team actually needs. And I'll give you 2 key examples that were exactly that, but as managers did not go anywhere. One was AVB. Fantastic at spotting talent. Knew exactly who to get in. Players that ended up becoming quite decent at Chelsea Football Club. But as a manager, could he run that team? No. Frank Lampard spotted some good talent. We had a blinding window under Frank Lampard. You remember, everyone was excited and pleased with the players that we acquired. He knew exactly where to go and get those lads. And to be honest, good signings. However, did he know how to execute them? Did he know how to use them? No. Got sacked in the end. Thomas Tuchel came in, boom, straight away, 6 months Champions League win. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence. There are some managers at a certain level and there are other managers that are just at another level below. That's just how it is. With Graham Potter, I feel like him and his team at Brighton know who to recruit and how to get players in. They know that absolutely, and that will help us. But to know how to use them on a week-to-week basis in this squad at this level at Chelsea Football Club, I'm not filled with confidence. I look at Potter and I just feel like, you're not it, mate. You're not it. Not on a personal level. I don't know the guy. Personally, he could be the nicest guy in the world. Much like I look at Gareth Southgate and I think you could be the nicest guy in the world. But professionally, in terms of the job, at the highest level, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And I feel like this could go down a route just like AVB and just like Lampard and just like those sort of managers. And one thing I want to leave you guys with is, historically at Chelsea Football Club, it just seems to be a thing that the most successful managers that have come into the jobs are the ones that have had personality. You know, Jose, successful, personality. Carlo Ancelotti, successful, personality. Classy personality, I might say, because he didn't have to say too much too often, but you knew who he was and he had that aura about him and he could just literally sit there with a cigar and you just knew that he demanded respect. That's Carlo Ancelotti. Antonio Conte, similar thing. Thomas Tuchel is in that bracket, come in and demanded and showed and showed exactly what he wanted to do, and he did. Personality is important. At this level, it's important. It takes you to another level. And with Graham Potter, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Time will tell. We'll see what happens after this January transfer window. Do I think he's going to budge? Do I think anything's going to happen with Graham Potter? No. And this is where I wanted to leave you with the point that I wanted to mention earlier. The ownership have given him a 5-year contract, guys. This is where I'm looking at the ownership and thinking, what on earth have you guys done? 5 years. Yes, it doesn't count as much if they can just afford to give him his compensation if they decide to pull the trigger. If they just think, yeah, it's all right, we'll give him his compensation. Here's 60 million, not a problem. If they can afford that, cool, that's on them. Not a problem at all. That means my point is invalid. But when you look at it logically, 5-year deal, bloody hell, What other club has that sort of contract to a manager that's come in at this level for the first time in his life, not seen a Champions League ball in front of him before? I don't know. So let's wait and see. Let me know your thoughts down below if you agree or disagree with the points. But I'm honest as well. When it comes to the players, soft. A lot of them are soft. A lot of them need to be moved on. But as I've already mentioned, that needs to happen under the right guy. Is Graham Potter that right guy? Let me know down below if you think he is or if you think he isn't. Much appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you are new. Hit the notification bell to be notified once I've uploaded. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to let me know about Enzo Fernandez as well and your thoughts on that deal possibly being done now. And do you think he'll come in and make a big difference, or do you think he'll end up becoming like the others? Let me know. Much appreciated. And tomorrow you'll be getting another video, maybe a couple, we'll see. And then we gear up to our game against Manchester City that's played on Thursday. So the preview to that will be dropping on Wednesday. And I've already told you what I think is going to happen in yesterday's video. So yeah, we'll gear up to that and I'll analyze it even more for you guys when the time comes. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see all of you tomorrow. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Insta as well. Links in the description. And I'll see you then. Have a good one, people. In a bit. Take care and peace.